want to do that because I thought I was going to be having something else I had to do, but it turns out I didn't. So, anyway. The topic of this live that I want to talk about is earlier in the day I saw like a meme that was what is it? The Dodge mascot, like the dog. One side had like the buff dog, and the other side had the kind of like the dog going like wimpy Dodge or whatever. And the one with the buff side, it was saying that I use the name of God to bind and control the goetic spirits and demons, while the other one showing the one being fearful is all, oh, it's impolite and it's rude to bind spirits, so I don't do it. Well, I think that's kind of backwards, because one of the, and I'm going to be talking about like more than just this one, but when it comes to working with these spirits, you have to keep in consideration that each one is unique. Each one obviously has its own awareness, and as such has the right to be treated as any other kind of astral entity. The only time that you can oppose it and try and push back is if it's trying to overpower and push you around. Because, at least the way that I look at it, and looking at it from a more practical sense, if you're going to a certain entity to have it assist you with something, why do you have to resort to having to intimidate it and bind it, control it, and force it to do what you're trying to have assistance for? If anything, that kind of shows that you have to resort to acting out of line and having the idea that you have to intimidate and force something by means that are really, to be honest, kind of pathetic, to put it bluntly. Because put yourself now into that spirit's viewpoint. Imagine you're just minding your own business, no biggie, just nice and comfortable, and then out of nowhere, some guy kicks down your doors, aims a gun at you, and says, "You're gonna do what I need done. I don't care how you feel. If you don't do it, I'm gonna shoot you." Yeah, it's a bit extreme, but that's the same thing. You're going towards an entity. In this case, it's going to be you. It's coming towards you, needing assistance with something, but instead of asking in a way that's having manners and being considerate, like even knocking on the door before coming in, instead of kicking down the door, then aiming the gun at you, threatening you, same thing, using the word of God to force them. If they don't, they're not going to be able to give that sense of like, oh, I'm being forced to do something and I'm not even having a voice, and I'm being bound to do it. I mean, at least in my opinion, if someone kicked down my door and aimed a gun at me and said, do this or I'm going to shoot, I'm not going to think really highly of them as soon as I do whatever they have done. In fact, to be honest, that's a good majority of the reasons why, when someone does go about it, it has huge potential as soon as that working's done. And then that entity is unbound, or that Goetic Divine's unbound. Once it's done, they come right around, get vengeance. That's what they do. And not just one. Almost the entire left side, that's how they retaliate. Because they, just like with all the other entities and spirits, they notice what you're doing. And of all the things, it shows, at least on the spiritual side, that, wow, why does this person have to resort to doing this? Instead of actually going towards whichever entity and asking, you know, I need some assistance for something. Would you be open to helping with it? And asking, being considerate, and actually taking the time to actually really put effort and research into it. It's not hard. In fact, you'd be quite surprised about how many of these entities and spirits are willing to listen and willing to come towards you just to listen to you and see what you're going to be asking of and giving you time out of their existence to listen. Because not every spirit you go towards or invite or ask for assistance of, not all of them are going to say yes. Not all of them are going to respond, and not all of them are going to respond in a way that you're going to understand. But a common thing across the board is treat them as if you were a spirit yourself, and then a person was coming towards you, demanding you to do something for them in a way that's kind of like, really, dude? The more noble way also gains the most respect too. Because the way of having to aim, for an example, like with King Beleth, having to aim a hazel wand at him and command it and demand him to go into a triangle. No. Do not do that. For one, that's a king. And two, well, it's a form of consciousness. It's an entity. It's a spirit, which, by technicality, every human being on this planet is a spirit too, but just with a physical form and a body. So, why are you going towards an equal like that? Anything that's a spirit or on the astral side is an equal to you. But that does not mean that you have to go towards it in a way that's just disgusting and out of line. Because this is why precisely this requires a lot of understanding and being able to put yourself in another's shoes. If you do not have that skill, it's very, very critical to know that skill. I'm not saying it because it's making excuses, no. And definitely not saying it that in a way that's, I'm trying to find a good way to put it. It's like the golden rule, but in all actuality, as with anything of the occult, you have to make sure that your well-being is number one, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing. Even if it's something as simple as taking like an oil mixture like this, and you're putting it on, and you're saying some words, that alone can cause damage. I'm not saying it to be scary, not trying to make it be all like, oh no, but still. Occult, you have no idea what's going to happen. You may even just hold a piece of kunzite and all of a sudden, hold it for some time, say some word, heart attack. That's a bit extreme, but you never know. That's just how it operates. But with spirits, you have to go towards them the same way. You have to go at it in a way that is ensuring your well-being number one. Because you never know what's going to happen. Even with going towards an entity that you have a strong connection with, and you have history with, still, when it comes to anything, you have to come first. Because if anything happens to you, the world is done. From your perspective. In other words, in your life, you have to come first. Because without you, nothing exists. And I'll say it one more time. In your life, you come first. Because if you aren't here, nothing exists. And some people would argue in fact saying, well, everything outside of me exists. Well, of course. But if you have your eyes closed and you're dead, you don't exist on this planet anymore. Hey, Kayla. Your awareness has gone from, okay, I'm seeing everything around me. I exist, everything else exists. Now you're dead. Well, you can't really tell if anything's around you on the physical plane because you don't have that awareness because you're dead. So, to other people on the physical plane, you don't exist. And it's much harder on the other side to actually interact with this side, the physical. So, unless if you're well, you should prioritize yourself. Because once you're well, then you can worry about outside of you. Getting back on topic with the poetic spirits and more do's and don'ts. Of course, there are some people that do go about it in a way that's like the ceremonial, traditional, like actually doing it like by the book. You can do whatever you deem fit, and you can go about it in like drawing the shapes and all that if you just want to go by the book. But the wording and how you approach them and what you say to them and the tone and how you go about it, be very careful. Don't command, don't demand, don't force, don't push. If anything, if you want them to appear, like for an example, say if you have like drawn out in like in chalk on the ground, and if you actually say whatever has to be said and change it so that way you're not saying in a way that's demanding them to appear or go somewhere, just simply invite them to appear or interact with the shape in this direction. Inviting them and asking them in a way you would prefer them to, but however, if they choose not to, and if they appear elsewhere, that is just as fine. In fact, that's probably even, at best, even good enough. Because if you invite them in, and if you're asking them to appear in the triangle, but they appear behind you and you know about it, take it as a good thing that they responded in the first place. Because, again, they could just simply not even respond and completely just ignore it. They don't have to respond at any time. If anything, they can just sit far back and not even, and just watch you, not say a word, and not even, well, not by literally saying the word. They can just sit back, be watching you, and not even make any kind of sense of like awareness that they're there, and just watch. And a good majority of the time, those who practice this art and the occult, they are being watched on the other side nearly all the time. That's kind of creepy, but that's the truth. Every little thing that you do is being watched and recorded. Not literally, not like how it is like on a recording of like a phone or something. But on the other side, in the spiritual world, they're not bound by a physical body. They have awareness. And they can actually influence and manipulate around them, change, and make it subtle or loud, depending on how strong their energy is. But still, everything is being noticed on the other side. So, it's more admirable to be sincere and honest, because I can guarantee you, every single time, without fail, if you attempt to try and give any spirit some BS, like here's a good example. Say if I'm going towards, think of one, Marquis Andres. If you happen to know who he is, he's known to be probably, if not one of the most dread inflicting of the goetic spirits. And he's been known, at least by one account, I'm just saying one because that's the one that was just from his perspective. Not Andres, but the one that actually wrote it, Mathers, I believe. But anyway, he has been known to actually have the summoner and his assistants kill one another if they made him one little misstep. But now, if you're going to go towards Andres with BS, that is something that should not even cross your mind. Because for one, again, why would you have to go towards a spirit and give him a woozy-woo BS thing? If you're sincerely needing assistance with something, just go towards him and say it. But if you're going to come up with something saying that, oh, I want somebody to suffer because I don't like them for whatever pity thing, like for example, say, I don't like Timmy because he took my lunch money today. I know that's just like really like, wow, that's low, but kind of like, really? But still, something as simple as that. But now if it's in a way that's saying like, this individual, for example, has caused a lot of harm to a lot of people, I say the same bully, using that same example, has actually pretty much gone on a rampage and kind of needs to be, I wouldn't say killed, because childhood antics can kind of have a bit of a hit upside the head, metaphorically. But going towards them in a way that's not taking them seriously, they're not going to take you seriously in return. But making sure that you're saying how you feel and asking for their assistance on the endeavor the best that they can, if they choose to. And if they choose to say no, you still can ask them who else would be a better being to approach with this issue. You can ask them that. There's nothing that says you cannot. But just be exactly upfront, be honest about it, and don't be afraid of it. Because the minute that you start being afraid of them, that's when things will go downhill. In all honesty, there's really nothing to be afraid of them. But you still have to make sure your well-being is put as priority number one, above everything else. And how do you make sure that that's doable when going towards these spirits? Simple. Know what your foundation is. Know where you stand. Know how you're going to go towards them, and lay down the expectation on how you would like to be treated and how for them to approach you. Because you're inviting them into your space. So however you would like to have your space, make it known to them. Have them understand that. And when it gets out of line, you don't have to be over the top crazy and say, like, if something makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to go to the extreme and be just completely out of line and overblown aggressive towards them at first. Just be stern and inform them, I don't like that. No. Please do not do that. Whichever thing it is. But now say for an example, if you invite in, say if you invited King Beleth into your space. King Beleth appears. He's a bit agitated and upset that you've invited him in and he's now present. And he's being a little not really so confident, and he's interacting with you in a way that's not to your liking. Of course, don't not resort to what the book says to do and say, you, triangle, now. Don't do that. No. Do not do that. Instead, simply address them, my king. And usually when you address them by their title, he's a king. My king Beleth, I apologize for summoning you. However, I'm trying to invite you to build a connection with me. I know that you are not the most happy at the current moment, but would you be willing to invest alongside of me, or give me the opportunity to better understand you? Now, you have given that direction that I see that you're upset, I see that you're disturbed and bothered, and you'd rather not be here. I understand that. However, I'm trying to make a connection for us to both gain from it. You put that out there. But also add on to it. So please, if you're not in the state to build a connection and have us both invest in one another, then you are free to go after this. And we'll end it here. Whichever route you choose is now yours. So you gave the direction, you laid down the expectation of what's not to be done, and how you would like it to be done, and now you're giving him the opportunity to choose that he can go, or he can stay and try and work on a agreement between you two. So he now makes the choice. He can take his leave, but if he takes his leave, be sure to definitely express gratitude for him coming towards you and giving you his time. Again, look at it this way. You have a king coming to you, a king, pretty much the head, the highest ranking figure coming towards you. He could be definitely doing something else. He could be in his, like for example, his master bedroom. He could be enjoying something. He could be doing something completely different, but instead he makes the choice to respond and come to you. I don't know about you, but if a king came towards me, I'm going to be very appreciative that he's making the choice to say, I'll come towards you. What is it? And again, being a king, make sure that you're on your best behavior. And there's a difference between speaking in a way that's showing that you're expecting respect, and then acting in a way that is just out of line. Being stern and saying, please don't. It's completely different from saying, no, just getting like all up in like that. But still, when you invite an entity in, you do not go and attack like that. You make it stern and know what the expectation is. And there's a completely different thing. Like for an example, I'll put myself on the spot. Numerous times on live streams, I've noticed stuff and I've called out stuff and I've told it to get. But how come I'm doing it then if I'm now saying to be hospitable to those that you call to you? That's simple. When you call an entity to your space, you're making it aware, and you're aware that, okay, I'm bringing in something. I'm inviting something in. I'm making the choice to have this come towards me. I'm giving it consent. When you give something consent, you're allowing it to. So, you're expecting it. When something comes in, like out of nowhere, like for example, again, someone kicks down the door. I don't know you. What are you doing in here? Person kicks down the door. Of course, any natural human being is going to be like, oh, excuse me, why did you think it was a good idea to put your foot on my door and now knock the door down? It's the same thing. But now say if you call your best friend, they come through, they knock on the door, you open the door, they come in. That's completely different. It's the same thing with spirits, the same way. Some come in, throw a hissy fit, you have to stand up and get them out. And some spirits, you invite them in, they come in, they throw a hissy fit, make it stern that you're not going to allow it, and then they can leave or stay and correct the behavior, or out they go. It's pretty much, simply put it, it's like if you're interacting with another person. It's the exact same thing. The only thing that's different is that we have this thing, the physical. They don't. But we both have awareness. And when you're aware of the awareness, you can interact with them. If you don't have the awareness of them, you can't. And because since awareness altogether has the right to be acknowledged and interacted with and treated with the best dignity as possible, depending on like where they yield from, for example, like the ones on the left, all entities deserve to have the opportunity to be approached and interacted in a way that is hospitable. The opportunity to. They all should be given a chance. But how it should be taken in depends on the person. Because how one entity feels towards me may not be the same to you. And some entities that you may enjoy being with, I may detest. No entity is going to like anybody else the exact same way. But now there are some commonalities between people. There are those. But each interaction between you and them is unique to you. And the most you can do is just give your account, what happened, and how you went about it. That's as far as you can go. But now there's also a fine line with this. And probably the best example is Lilith. Going towards Lilith in a way that some would say like, oh, well, all she is this object. Now let's put it in this perspective. If you were to go to a woman who, let's just say, is more drawn to darker things, but she's dressing, like, for example, like the Victorian Gothic style, that's Lilithian, believe it or not. And she's well dressed, and she actually looks like she's ordered, and she actually put a lot of time and investment in presenting herself, which technically that's all women, because all women do that. If you're going to be now going towards a woman who likes to express herself in a more darker manner and say, oh, you must be a harlot, huh? No, that's not, no. Absolutely not. Don't do that. It's the same thing with Lilith. Just because she's a dark, divine being, that doesn't mean that you can just assume that, oh, she's dark, that means she must be like this. She's a dark goddess archetype figure, yes. But not all dark goddess divines express themselves in a way that's rather vulgar. For example, Hel. She's another one. So is the Morrigan. Another one would be Nyx, Hecate, Milone, Mott, just to name a few, but nonetheless, not all of them are lust-driven. And I can guarantee you, if you were to go to any one of them and call them a vulgar word that I'm kind of like saying because it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, I would assume that you would hopefully know what would happen next. Going towards a figure that has history and is well respected, and then giving them that insult. don't even do it. In fact, I'm kind of concerned on why anybody would think that'd be a good idea to even do that. And why even accept it as just normal and even think that it's acceptable. Because one of the things that, at least on the personal level for me, that I detest, I completely detest. Now don't get me wrong, Lilith does have associations with being a sexual being. Yes, she does have that. However, that's not her core. Her core is empowerment of the self. When you have empowerment of the self, you can make the choices because I want to do this. I'm in control, therefore I'm doing this. Because if you operated it backwards, like going, in order for me to be empowered, I need to be doing this. I feel empowered when I do this. That's backwards. I'm empowered in myself to make my choices and not have any kind of self-hesitation or hold myself back from doing something. So, therefore, I'm doing this because I choose to. I'm choosing to do this because I'm wanting to. That I want, so therefore I'm choosing it. It's not choosing me. And I don't need this. I'm choosing it. There's a fine difference. And having to rely on something outside of you, that's not Lilith. It's not Lilith. Because at the end of the day, she needs herself. Only. Because when she has herself and she knows, okay, I know my value, I know my worth, I know what to expect, and I know what I'm going to get. So with that in mind, that's what I'm getting. Not having to look outside of herself and be all, I need this. No. And she, of course, does not take orders from nobody. She may make it believe it looked like it, but in the actuality, she doesn't. Even coming towards her and asking her for help, you have to say it in a way that she's actually going to choose to, and in a way that intrigues her. Simply asking her, Lilith, will you please help me with this? Why? Why should I help you? And that's actually sometimes a legit question she asks. Why am I going to help you? Why should I help you? It's kind of boring. And in my book, I explain how to, like a really good way to actually use seduction, which she's a maven of. And by maven, I mean she excels in it. Pretty much the original source of where the art of seduction came from. How to use seduction. And also say it in a way that gives her the right to make the choice. You're putting it into her hands to choose. And if you remember how her tale went with Adam and Yahweh, her voice and her say was taken from her. She wasn't given the opportunity to make the choice. She was demanded to submit, which did not end well for Yahweh, because he was made out to be a fool in front of Adam. That's just what happened. But nonetheless, you have to go in a way that intrigues her, has her be curious about it, and then give her the say. But no matter what choice she chooses to help, or she chooses to move on and just meh with you. Whichever one. Either way, you have to be grateful that she even gave you the acknowledgement. And that's just how she is. She's prioritizing herself over everything else. So if she's stopping to listen, appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. Because if anything, you could just be inviting her to her space and she could just completely ignore it. Completely, and not even give you a second to think, wait a minute, was she just here? No, she's gone. Wait a minute, I don't know what happened. Or she could make herself appear, and then as soon as you try interacting with her, just go. That's how she manifests and expresses herself. She can come right on in, for even just a second, then be gone. So you really have to keep her interest, but also keep her interest in a way that isn't aggressive, degrading, and don't threaten her, and don't ever, please do not ever try to bind her. Don't. Because if you know the story of what happened with Adam, that's metaphorically a good thing that might happen. Like what happened to him. So please, be very considerate to any spirit, for that matter. And really, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to be considerate. It's not that hard to be mindful. And it's not difficult. Because if I can do it, literally anybody else can. It's not that hard. Just simply invite and be patient and allow them to come towards you how they want to. But also, just remember, stand up for yourself and don't be all walked over. Because if you be walked all over, the other side's going to know, and they will take note of it. And if you're somebody who can be pushed around, you have to gain your respect. And you have to be consistent. And there's nothing to be afraid of, it's just how it is. See, are there any other points that I can think of? And probably another big one. If you're going to be going towards any of the goetic divines or goetic spirits, please. And I'm not saying this to be gatekeeping, because this isn't gatekeeping. Do not bring the angelics into it too. Don't. Don't care who has backlash to say. If you're going to bring in the farthest polarities to the farthest it can go together, don't. Just don't. If you want to have World War III happen in your space, have at it. But if you want to be safe and you have nothing bad happen to you, don't. Because the last thing you want to have happen is to have a big conflict in your space. Besides, people that do bring the angelics over to bind the divine on the left, I hate to break it to you, but that's not doing any form of satanic work. It's not. Because the thing is, you're using the left's enemy to bind them. It's not. That is not using that correctly. In fact, that's counterintuitive. Why are you using their enemy to work with them? That doesn't make sense. If you're trying to work with an entity that's on the left, go towards them yourself. You don't need to have the opposing come in and help you go towards them. And some people would argue, but how do I keep myself safe? Well, the thing is, if you think you're going towards them and you think you're getting get yourself in hot water, there is a problem. You have to stop, go back, and then take a look at yourself. And even if you have to write it down, say, and answer questions like, why do I feel like this towards the entities on the left? Why do I feel like this? What made me feel like this? Where did these ideas come from? Are they right to me or are they wrong to me? Why do I feel they're incorrect? Why do I feel they're correct? What do I think this entity is like? What do I know this entity is not like? Answer questions like that. Because when you go at it in a way that you're wanting to say, for example, I'll use Marquise Andres for an example. I'm going to go towards Marquise Andres for whichever endeavor. But you have no idea how he's going to respond. Just simply answer the questions. What do I know about Marquise Andres? And I'll even go about it in a way that I'm like completely brand new. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, Marquise Andres. Okay, I'm going to be researching him first. Okay, you're doing your research. You know his title, Marquise. Have that down. Now you see the part where he's been known to kill the summoner and his assistants. And yes, that's where you need to use your discernment. Okay. This is what he's been known to do by somebody else's account. I haven't interacted with them, so I can keep it to the side, but I know that's not a fact, because that's not what happened with me, and I haven't interacted with them yet. So you can't justify it. You can't. That's like pretty much the whole idea of like kids fighting in a sandbox. Well, he did this to me yesterday. Well, he took my candy bar that day. Well, you didn't see it happen. You don't even know this. You don't even know these kids, and now you're caught in the middle trying to figure out which is good and which one's the bad one in the situation. You don't know either kid. So the best way to go about it is simply neutral and be open to both until one singular individual unjustly causes harm to you. Then you can have your viewpoint on them. It's the exact same thing as like human relationships. The exact same. There's nothing different, just the body's not there. So having that added to the side, so now we can go from there and think, okay, so this source is saying you have to be very careful and can't misstep, because he'll take advantage of you again. That's what happened, potentially maybe have happened to this individual. If that's his account, that's his, not yours. It's the same thing. Now, if you, say, invite Marquise Andres to come in, he comes in, you interact with him, and if you notice that he's more watching your every move, every little thing, be observant of that. And you can most definitely ask, why are you being very observant of my movement in every action I take? What is your reasoning for that? But also, don't act in a way that's like, why are you looking at me like that? No. You can even ask in a way as simply as like, I've noticed you've been observing me with focused scrutiny. Why is that? Because I want to know to better understand you. Now, if you do something like that, I can guarantee you that that's actually going to open the pathway for that connection to expand much more. Because now you're making it known that you're noticing the interaction, that he's focused on you and he is paying attention to your every little move. That kind of shows that he's not being distracted by anything. That's something to keep in mind. Marquise Andres, when he's given an opportunity to assist you with something, and if he accepts it, you know he's going to be strictly focused on it and go for it and not get distracted. Because he's observant. He watches and then strikes. And that's how in-depth these accounts can get from McMathers. But you can't take it as in a way that you're not allowing the entity to come towards it how it is. When you start going at it in a way that somebody else has gone through it, you're now feeding into a man-made version of it that's not it. Be open. Because when you're open and allowing it to come toward you how it is, not judge it, and just not see it as bad or good, just how it is, things will be so much easier. At least based on my experience, I've had not one bad negative experience from any entity on the left. Not one. And I'll vouch for that. But still, be allowing them to come towards you. Because when you allow them to come towards you, but also make it known that you're not going to put up with anything that's not acceptable in a hospitable way, it'll be acknowledged by all the other entities on the other side. They'll be aware of it, and they'll acknowledge it, and they'll remember it. Because when you start making that be your standard, everything else follows suit. Again, any kind of connection with an entity on the other side is identical to it as it is on Earth with another person. It's the exact same thing, and I know I'm reiterating that because that's how it is. The best thing, keep it simple. Spirit, other person. It's not you, it's other. How do you go towards another person? Neutral and friendly. How do you go towards a spirit? Neutral, open, friendly. How do you go towards a spirit that comes towards you in an aggressive way? Same way as if someone aggressive is coming towards you. Make it known that you don't want any trouble. Keep sissy fitting. Inform again, don't want trouble. Inform again if they come towards you again. Hey, I don't want trouble. But if you keep this up, I'm going to have to retaliate. Please back off. Doesn't listen, down they go. But now with the spirit, of course, obviously, you're not going to be able to grab the spirit. But still, spirit is making you uncomfortable. Make it known that you do not like that and it has to stop. It doesn't listen, call it out again. Remind it. Stop. That's enough. If you don't stop, I'm going to have to make sure that you leave. And make it firm. If they violate it, do whatever measures you have to do to purge it out. And there are numerous ways of going about it. But you have to hold your ground and not allow it to push you around. Because if it happens once, it'll keep happening. And that's something that you have to establish. It takes a while, but it's possible. I've been practicing the field since 2010. Pretty much almost a good 11 and a half years. I'm not new here. And I'm just saying it for how it is. Because again, in your life, you come first. Everything else can wait. If you're not well, nothing else matters. Until you're well and you're standing up. Until then, you get yourself standing up. Anything else, everything else, anyone else can zip it and wait. And there's nothing selfish about that. Because if you give all of yourself out and there's nothing left for you, you're dead. That's just how it is. I'm not saying it to be nice, not saying it to be cupcakes and roses and woozy-wooey. That's the reality of it. If there's nothing for you, you have nothing, then you're out. But if you're providing for yourself and you're keeping your standing well, and if you have an overabundance of it, then of course you can definitely make the choice to give and help other people. you can then choose to. That's your choice. But if you're not well and you're giving all of what you have away, no, that's not enjoyment. Enjoying of life is being free from as much suffering from your life as possible. Giving to others to make them not suffer at the cost of you now being in suffering, that's not enjoyment. And even some would say that that's the right thing to do. No, it's not. Why should you have to suffer to make somebody else better? Because again, without you, your world doesn't exist. If you're gone, there's no world. But now say, if you're well, you have all your needs met, you have an overabundance, you see someone who's struggling and not doing so well, you choose to give to them, that's the right thing to do. But if you're in a state that you both are not in a good enough state, and if they're asking you for help and they're pushing you, you can say no. I can't help you, and I'm not going to because I'm struggling to get by. And if they respond to you in a way that says, well, you're just selfish. No, you're not selfish. No. If anything, they're just upset because you said no. And they're trying to guilt trip you into getting what they want from you out. Being called selfish for making it known that, hey, I'm not able to because I'm trying to keep myself standing. If you're being called selfish to keep yourself standing, again, without you, this world doesn't exist, including them. In your life, if you don't exist, there's nothing, including that other person. Hi, Adam. Actually, I'm pretty surprised. Wow, there's only been like 2 people putting in comments. Yeah, because I mean, this topic is actually going much deeper, and deeper than I expected it to. I'm doing pretty well, Adam. But still, even at that too, if it's more than just interacting with the spirits, this is kind of like a lecture on like how to improve your life. Hey, how? And actually really understanding that you have to prioritize yourself first. And like how exactly when I said that, I heard a bang bang go off. And I'm like, oh, but still. It's important to remember that without you, there's nothing. The co-workers in your life, significant other, children, family, there's nothing. No object of desire that you want. No goal that you're trying to attain. No fancy iPad that you've been having your eyeball on. Heck, not even the newest tarot deck you want. Not even one of my guilty pleasures, I'll admit it, kunzite, my favorite stone. That doesn't exist. Or even one of the most coveted oils in the world. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Blue lotus oil, which is expensive. That doesn't exist until you're well. Literally. You won't be able to get this expensive blue lotus oil unless if you exist and are able to actually be able to get it and find it and pursue it. Because if you can't be on the plane, physical plane, to even go towards it, you can't get it. So you have to make sure you're standing, like being able to research and find out where it is, and being able to get it, to have the funds to purchase it. That's kind of like trying to make it as practical as possible, but still. What's your question, Adam? Well, I usually, personally, I don't really astral travel that much because I'm more focused on my surroundings mainly. Because if I was to, for an example, say if I was to astral travel to, for an example, I'll be cheesy. Say if I wanted to astral travel to my significant other. Okay. A lot of people don't mention this. As soon as you astral travel, you're still connected to the body, yeah. But here comes the problem. You're wide open. The physical body is wide open. Your awareness is in another spot, but it's still attached. But the minute that you open yourself like that, wide open, and all that something has to do is become aware that you're astral traveling, and as soon as you try to come back to your body, it goes in with you. Then that's now you have your spirit and another entity mixed in. That's one of the other reasons why I do not like doing it. You're leaving yourself wide open. Unless, if you have particular measures of protecting yourself, it can be risky. It can be very risky. The same thing with like astral projection. The projection usually is more limited, if I'm thinking correctly. But still, if you're going to be astral traveling or using astral transportation, you have to make sure that the physical body, when you come back, is safe and protected. Because if it's not, it's risky. That's just the reality of it. To best put it, the farthest that I can even say that I've actually did any kind of astral travel was simply just appearing in front of the physical body. And just constantly only doing that. Just to see how it operates. Not going too far, because going too far, again, has that risk. And usually I do not like taking my awareness, putting it elsewhere, and leaving risk. Because it's risky. And many don't even bring that up, that if you're going to leave yourself wide open, that risk is very apparent. Well, to put it simply, traveling to other realms is a metaphor. Meaning, traveling to other realms is that your current awareness is changing. Metaphorically. For an example, say like if somebody went to like a dimension that has a different state of awareness, like quote unquote higher vibration, a higher state of awareness, a more enlightened state, and I'm going to describe it, a more deva perspective, a more sattva experience and awareness, the more purest. And then when you go to a lower, the more tamasic, or the more down to earth, or the more physically experienced, or even also rajasic, the enjoyment, that's the state of awareness. And the realms, that's just another way of saying it. Your sense of awareness is going into a different state. It can go up, it can go down, but usually most of the time it always comes back to from the higher realms, the deva, to the middle ground, which is the rajas, the living, then the tamas, which is the below. If that makes sense. And just changing your awareness to each specific one, that's how you travel the realms. But having yourself project to a different realm is another way of saying you're simply having your awareness be more attuned to that different state of awareness. You're experiencing a more purest state of awareness from the higher state. The more the more connected to other, the more collective. That's the higher. The more lower is the more connected for self. if that makes sense. I know that that's kind of really mind hamster wheeling. The best way to put it. That's the best way I can put it. It's very... Most of the stuff that's actually spoken about and even like documented, a good majority of it is very used and spoken about in a way that's like in metaphors. Is very metaphoric. That's even a word. Still, it's a lot of metaphors. Mm-hmm. That's just the blessing of having an Aquarius mind and an Aquarius head. Because usually the Aquarius zodiac sign can actually understand it and comprehend it. And that's why usually Aquarius, despite being the most chaotic sign, is the most innovative. It is the most theoretical. It is. That's why a lot of people think, the heck did you just say? Okay, I don't get it, but alright. I get that way too much. Because I understand it, and not many do. But going to like a... Yeah, that's... Well, in that kind of thing, that's more, again, your sense of awareness is changing. And with that, if it's a realm that is not really connected with others, you're being more connected to yourself. Like if you're using your imagination, that's connecting on the awareness of the self being projected to a different space. But now say if you're projecting yourself to a higher state of awareness and other people are doing it as well with you, that's more of the collective, if that makes sense. But really, it's a lot of connecting the dots and a lot of fine-tune explaining that I could be here for more hours than I already have been, but still, that's the most simplistic way of putting it. And going to a new... Let's see... Aphrodite would be one. Nyx would be another one, believe it or not. And surprisingly, you probably weren't expecting this one. Hell's another one. How is Hell one that can teach glamour magic? Well, simply put, what Hell does when you go towards her, she reflects back. Lucid dreaming. Usually lucid dreaming, you're actually aware. Because when you're... Usually the best way to understand is that if you're sleeping, you're pretty much, when you're trying to make yourself aware, being asleep, and when you're having your dreams, your subconscious is being brought to the forefront. If you're aware of it, you'll be able to understand and see that, wait, I experienced this while I'm asleep. You're not really astral projecting. If you're now asleep and you're still aware and you're conscious of it, and then when your subconscious comes in and you're able to comprehend it, that's different from projecting. Because projecting, you can just simply go like that. I'll do it one more time. You can just simply back. I'll do it one more time, because a lot of people would think like, well, you didn't do anything. When you project, come back, that's all it is. You're simply taking yourself and awareness, putting it outside of you, then bringing it back. Lucid dreaming, you're keeping your awareness within you, but you're not really using your physical body. You're using the mind and the astral body within the mind, within your head, to do it. You're keeping yourself within you. But now if you're projecting yourself outside to the world, that's different. That makes sense. But now for the entities with the glamour, like for doing glamour work, well, Aphrodite, well, come on now. That one I shouldn't have to explain. Now, Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night who teaches to see you without your eyes. So, for one, when you're not able to see, you can actually, well, for one, you can feel, your other senses are heightened, but since in the night, most of the time, what is the main thing that happens during nighttime? Most of the time, that's when all the opportunities of, like, when you're in the dark, something comes in front of you. That's a glamour. Because your sense of awareness and looking around is being influenced by something outside of you. You're perceiving it. In glamour magic, technically, it's the kind of magic that puts on a veil. Something in front. To mask something. The appearance or the perception of it changes from what it really is. As for hell, when you go towards hell, the way she responds to you depends on how you feel about yourself and if you hold on to anything on a deep level. Because to the depths, if you have something that you're holding on to that you despise about yourself, she will, the best way to put it, down the middle, the way that she is, half in light and half in the dark, the more accepting and the more that you accept that you are who you are, and the more, I'm just going to say it because it makes probably going to make the more sense, the more positive you feel towards yourself, the more of the light side you get. The more that you have hardship and detest, hate yourself, and just despise yourself, the more of the darker side come through. So when it comes to with hell, take it from me. However she appears to you, that's exactly how you feel about yourself. Because she takes that, puts it in your face. She's not doing it to be cruel. She's telling you, this is how you feel about yourself. Accept it. Because if you won't accept it, and if you try to get away from it, it'll stay there. It won't go anywhere. And it probably will get worse. When you accept it, that's when it starts going away. And of course, it's not being done because it brings enjoyment from her. No, it doesn't. And a lot of people say, well, she's cruel. I'll put it this way. How can an entity take a vow to serve every dead that comes her way, no matter who it is, regardless of what they did, and caretake to them such as... I'll answer that question in a second. If she's making the choice to take a vow to serve anyone and everyone that comes towards her that's passed on, regardless of who it is, and she has kept that vow in a really strict manner and hasn't broken it, I can kind of take it from here to understand, well, I don't think she's cruel if she accepts everyone. Without anything at all. Without anything to, like, for us having to give back. She just does it. On her own will and accord. And she doesn't have any agenda attached to it. She's making the choice to do it. So if she's making the choice to do it, how can she be cruel giving people, the things that they need to be taken care of? That's all. So why consider her being cruel if she's accepting everybody? Heck, her the place where she resides, Helheim, it's like a giant soup kitchen. How's that cruel? Don't know why. Okay, there we go. There's just, that loud noise again. I do not want to put up with it. Anyway, so her realm where she resides, Helheim, is like a giant soup kitchen. So how can she be cruel if she's feeding everybody that comes to her and caretaking to them? That logically doesn't make sense. Oh, and some say she's greedy. How can she be greedy if she's constantly giving and giving and giving to the people she gets? That's not... No. What it is because there has to be the paradigm of good, bad, above world, Asgard, below world, the underworld, where hell's at. There has to be good, bad, beautiful, ugly. It's just annoying. Dumb. Now, for Nyx, well, unless if you want to hear loud background noises in the background, okay. Because, I try my very best to not have outside distractions come in and just throw me off my train of thought, like just what just happened. It's not as apparent now because I'm wearing this thing, but still. It's like this daily. But still. For Nyx, though, I'm just making it known that I try my best to try and make it as professional as possible. I know. To put it simply here. Oh, let me get up. Okay. So we'll go on to a little adventure. Here. I'm going to show you a general idea of what Nyx looks like. So here. See that? See it dark out there? There she is. Here, I can give you a better look. You see how dark it is outside? There it is. Now flip this way. Or here's probably the best example. So yeah. But now if you're wanting to get the full experience, you'd be going at it like this. Let me turn that off. Let me turn that off. Bada boom. Completely in the dark. Well, now you have to see without your eyes. But now you can really see everything. Nyx in a nutshell. And when you start really connecting to the subconscious, that's when she takes form. And you can comprehend it. But you can't use your eyes for it. You have to feel. And I like how exactly right when I said that, there's a cool breeze right behind me.
Just like that. I'll turn that back on so you guys will be like, well, it's a black screen. That's the most simplistic way that I can put it. Stick that back in. Get my diffuser back on. There we go. That's the most simplistic way I can put it. I gotta put this back to where it was. I don't care what that says. Do not care about what that says. Okay, just like that. And now I'm gonna turn this back on. Ba-da-ba-doof. See if there's anything else that I can think of. Not really, no, but other than that, I'm gonna grab a drink. I'll be back in like 2 shakes. I'm not gonna end the stream, but when I come back, I'll be more than the heck. Okay, I'm just gonna put this in there so that way my computer won't yell at me anymore. And when I get back, I will be open to... Where the heck did those decks go? I just had them. Well, when I get back, I'll be open to doing like about maybe a few readings. Not too big though, but the two new decks I got. Not the Oracle one, but the Black Moon Astrology Oracle. Not that one because I haven't really delved into it yet. But when I get back. Alright. There. Now I'm going to find those next one. I believe... now it's nice and quiet.
Yep. Okay. So, here's our two options. The definitely not Necrocol. I forgot what that's called. The Dark Grimoire Tarot, or the Hey Tarot. I can make that joke because I'm one of them too. Don't be hating. So, other than that, I guess it's now open floor, and I'm gonna be nomming on my vanilla yogurt. I can't say really because I haven't really used both that much. The only time that I've used this deck was that other live that I was live on a few moments ago. With Kathy again? Okay. So, which one do you want me to use? Which one of these two you want me to use? Because usually if you make the choice, you're influencing it, not me. No, that one's not. That one's the Black Moon Astrology Oracle. That's an Oracle deck. And that one I haven't used yet. And I haven't really looked into it yet, so I can't really use that deck yet. Because an Oracle deck is completely different from a Tarot. Fine, I'll make the choice for you, but whatever it says, best to get. So, as I were getting the Rainbow Maiden deck. You can actually do a reading for anything or anything, like for any situation regarding anybody. You can do whatever you like to, and however you deem fit, but whatever you go with. You have to take the message and try and be as objective as you can. Oh, we got Adam West. What does, okay, so that would be, okay, first one is feel, second is attracted, and why has it not been, okay, first card is expressed, or like, here, one more time, feelings towards Adam, okay. I wish there was some way that I could pin that way I don't have to go like every 2 seconds. Okay. Feelings, please. Well, kind of. This deck has to be like broken in. Feeling. Right now, it's the Wheel of Life, or the Wheel of Fate. Feels like it's going a constant round and round and round. Like, okay, we're coming around again, something is being put around in a circle. It's going around and around and around. It's like something has potential, and then it goes away. Then it comes back again, and it's gone again. Then it's back again, then it's gone again. And now attracted. Is there attraction there? There's the he who font, the priest. Romantic? Well, devotion. And since I see the Hierophant as a Capricorn card, not a Venus card, I do not see the He Who Fought as a Venus card because the He Who Fought intimidates. Capricorn is a sign that has that intimidation factor to it because it's strict. Seeing the He Who Fought there for feelings towards you is very reserved, but really conservative, orderly, and structured. Old-fashioned. So a lot of restriction, a lot of self-control. But does have a awareness that is having like really moralistic expectation, if that makes sense. More orderly and more, again, the best way I can put it is like old-fashioned. And the next part was, well, the reason why for not, fine. Just kept hearing bottom of the deck, so I'll go with it. Reason why there's no reaching out. Justice. But now look at this. What do you think that means? But this Justice card. You see the two hands trying to reach out to one another. They're barred from each other. In other words, something is restricting you both. There's restriction on her end. But also yours. There's something preventing you two. But since it's being asked in the way they're saying why she isn't, she's being restricted in some way, shape, or form. And it keeps going around in circles. What is she feeling as of now? Ace of Pentacles. Having the thoughts that it could it could be made real. If she does, one, it's conservative, and it has to be waited until like a deeper sense of commitment happens with it. If that makes sense. But to answer that question, for the romance we have the 10 of Wands, 10 of Twigs, but now here's the thing. The depiction has a man figure with his dog, walking on an open road. You know the first thing I get when I see this? BDSM play. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And there's a big open road to go down that route. I'm just saying. But what do you think when you see a man walking his dog? What's one of the things? Fine, which one? Just go beyond the judgment. Just do it. Exactly. But really, the thing in common is BDSM play. BDSM does have the collar thing, and does have the master thing. Just saying. And since she had Beyond Judgment come out, meaning that just go for it. Sometimes you have to be the one to go towards it. And then now we got the 8 twigs supporting that depiction. We have 8 pigeons flying in the air, doing a dive bomb down towards the beach. So yeah, go beyond judgment and take the action. Grab another then. Well, the next card to come out, Adam, is the Youth, or the Page of Cups. So essentially, I like how that message just came into my head. Just listen. See how he's listening to the conch shell? Listen to this. Listen. That's the best I got. And then for Kayla, what'd you say? I don't know if there's any. Yeah. When dealing with emotions like that are connected to the past that just come out of nowhere and trying to deal with them, just like with the mind, if you feel sad, call it out and be like, no, I know that you're still present, but we have to keep going. It's hard, and I know that there's still some things not answered or troubled, but we have to keep going. Because and even I'm guilty of it. I'm still guilty of it. I do it a lot. I ruminate. But still. It's hard. But you have to catch yourself and remind yourself in the present, in the current moment, that was back then, that it's not now, and it's not coming towards me again. I do have one. In fact, probably, I think I have 2 of them. The Erotic Fantasy Tarot and Tarot Royal. Yeah, the Royal Tarot, which is a really dark, spacey themed one. Thank you, Fiona. Yeah. If you want to go towards it like how Fiona said, that's another way. But for me, I like to go at it in a way that's logical and kind of more practical. Because when you have something logically makes sense, and if it makes sense to the head and the mind, it can't fight back and say, that's not going to work. But when you have something that tells the mind, you have no choice, accept it, it's going to work. It can't push it back. And when it can't push back, you don't have anything stopping you. At least, that's how I like to operate. If it logically can't be fought against, you have to accept it. Like how I pulled the cherry when I said that. The chariot, not the cherry. And the Hermit and the 9 of Cups in that tarot deck. Well, fine. Pick a number, 1 or 2, Adam. 1 or 2. And this is my obsession. I cannot get enough of this stuff. It's probiotic, okay? It makes me, it makes the mood better, okay? Just like chocolate. 100% healthier. And before someone who has lactose intolerance says, well, it's not healthy for me. Well, of course. 1 or 2. You have to pick it. You're picking a number, not a deck. You don't even know which deck I'm going to pick then. You have to pick a number. I don't know which one you want. Okay. It's over here. Okay. Now keep in mind, of all the decks I have, this was probably worse than the erotic fantasy one. Yep, here's the dark one. Yes, you'll be next. Well, Royal, obviously, probably the most darkest out of all of them. So, easy cupcake. Don't start yelling, because I'm about to table flip. Don't do it. First, those are losing. Here, see. There's it. Okay. How does it feel right now? Okay, we'll go up and do that. I'm going to split that even. Black Moon, Lilith in Libra in the 12 conjunct ascendant. Oh. Yeah. You are correct, Food. You are correct. In fact, actually, Lilith is actually, if she's conjunct your ascendant degree, because she has to be if she's in the 12th and the 1st. Because literally, that's the position where she's on top of your head. Essentially, that's like the biggest, that's mine, kid. She's mine, back off. That's like the probably loudest approval stamp from her. The loudest one. I'm just saying. So, but in Libra, yes, you're correct. Libra gets pissed off with Lilith being in there. Stop dropping stuff. But now, a thing to keep in mind too, Libra, having Lilith conjunct the Ascendant, she has directional strength, meaning that Lilith, put it this way, Lilith now has a physical body. A Divine has a physical body. That's what they want. Unstoppable. But now that she's in Libra, she now feels like, I'm getting empowerment by negotiating? I have to balance things to be empowered? No. If I want this, I want it. I want to be where Aries is at, where I have the initiative, the impulse, the drive for it. Not be like, would you like some of this? But I want some more. No, okay, fine, I'll give you some back. Yeah. So, that's why Lilith doesn't like being in Libra. She gets mad. It's just like, I have to negotiate? Why? I just want this. Give me that. Well, in all actuality, having the sun go towards where Lilith's at, the sun goes, hey, check this out. So the focus is looking back at the self. And the sun, being in the 7th then, is like, I don't know where to go. I'm lost. I'm trying to find fulfillment in myself by other people. I don't know which way to go. So then that's essentially when Lilith comes in and takes over. Is like, And depending on which degree she's at, regarding Libra, that can kind of change things up because Libra is very unstable. Yep. And I need to get back into that series, but anyway, what was it again? What was it again, Adam? I'm fine. There we go. Okay, well, I mean, fine. We'll just go with 3. We got 1. I'm gonna just go for. Actually, screw it. I'll be nice. I'll go with 4. Okay, 4. There's 4. Okay. Oh god. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh good boy. This is gonna be so vulgar. But who cares? We're all ladies here. Kind of. Sorry, Adam. Alas, why did I get that in my head? Alas, poor Yorick. I knew thee once well or something. I don't know why I got that Shakespeare quote put in my head. Oh. Well. Okay. So, I'm gonna just ask the big question then. Give me 2 clarifications for all of this. Okay. Okay. Where do I start? Okay, we'll start with this one then. So, first one to come out. High Priestess. She likes being the center of attention. She likes being noticed. Acknowledge her and notice her. And being pretty much just all pretty. Next one. 7 of Wands. She must like sports play. That was rude. So probably the first thing that I get. Definitely, if she plays sports, definitely acknowledge her with that and give her praise with that. Especially if it involves anything with guns or archery or hunting or, or anything involving a sport where you have to throw something. Or, oh my gosh, here we go again with the yelling, so back in this goes. And nope, not doing it. Not putting up with that. Nope. There we go.
Okay, we're back. Really? Anyway, so we have these 2. Yeah. Is that really necessary? Anyway. Really? Anyway. So, acknowledge her when she plays sports, Adam. Because she likes being noticed with that. And now we're getting into the crazy stuff. As well. She is a wild one. When you get her in, when she's in a situation where, let's just say, she's one that makes you think she's innocent, but there's an animal underneath, the best way I can put it. And then to top it all off, Chris Farley. There's the devil. So topping it all off, definitely there is a lot of... Again, the same message came up. BDSM play came up again. That's the first thing that popped in my head. Twice. Again. Take it, stick it, deal with it. But since the devil is a figure that restricts and is an advocate, devil's advocate, a lot of very restrictive qualities and being point blank honest, let yourself loose. It is what it is. Let it be this simple. Again, it keeps popping in my head. Animal. There it is. Chains. But again, I'm reading it strictly because by it being intuitive, by the picture. I don't read by the book. Whatever's in front of me, that's how I read it. High Priestess. Notice how she's the center of attention and there's bats and everything flying towards her? Everything is flying to her. She's being noticed. Seven of Wands. The figure is a woman that's like an Amazon with a bow. She likes to do sports. She's active. Especially when it involves throwing or catching something. Very active. Eight of Wands. The woman figure has a soul of a wolf that's being activated. The Devil. Unleashing what's within. I've been giving you plenty of time, mister, but still, Michael needs to have his turn next. Then to clarify all of this, we have, well, I don't know why my computer did that. Clarifying that is the Eight of Pentacles and Death. So, in order for you to get towards this, and there's this sense of awareness that she's acknowledging it, but there's that hint saying if you're wanting to get towards that, you're gonna have to start digging. You're really gonna have to start putting in the effort to dig it and get into it. Put in the work and transform it. King of Pentacles. I don't need to explain that artwork. That's your end result. If that's what you want, you have to start digging. Start transforming yourself. In order to go towards this, transform, and then you get this. Start digging. Not literally. And, start working towards it and transforming it into that. Okay. So now, Michael. That way he's not just sitting there on his own self. So what was he saying? Okay. I'm going to get that out of my life. And I'm going to use this one next. The Definitely Not Cthulhu Tarot. Because this deck reminds me so much of Cthulhu. I love it. I love the backing. Dr. Frankenstein. Oh. Frederick Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein of the day. So, romantic figure of extreme significance or importance for him, would you? So, number one. The figure that came out is saying has a Knight of Wands, so somebody who is maybe the same age, a little bit younger, or maybe a few months younger, but they have a lot of bang to them. They're very swift and loud, exciting, and most definitely not afraid to go take initiative and take out something. They have immense initiative, but they're easily distracted. They may not be really open at first. They may be too zestful to explore their surroundings or explore even you at first. And they may not be as open to it being returned back to them, if that makes sense. And that's how they make themselves appear. Let's put it this way. What are they hiding behind that then? I like how what they said before I even drew the first card. This deck reminds me so much of Cthulhu. Look at that, there he is. So the reason why, and by the way, this is the devil card. So the reason why they're not really, this figure may not be as open to revealing themselves, but they're taking a lot of initiative elsewhere. They actually may be self-critical of themselves. And they may be afraid of being viewed as a monstrosity or be seen as a freak. And now that doesn't have to be sexual, but it could be even the idea of just like trying to make themselves seem like as pure as they can be, but they see themselves really as someone who's made bad mistakes or somebody who holds themselves to a high standard. That's why they try so hard to overcompensate that. So you can see somebody being very compensating in that regard. What should he look out for then? Should look out for someone that Knave of Twigs, Page of Wands. They might like hiking. They might be interested in Egypt mythology or Egyptian culture or Middle Eastern culture. May actually be somebody who is maybe even also a loner who has their own ideals. But they actually, as well, see you on an eye-to-eye encounter. It might even be somewhere close to water. But there is this mutual connection at first. Like you see the other person and you just know, if that makes sense. That's the best way I could put it. I just know that we all know. And 2 more for Pitfalls. Okay. The 2 potential pitfalls. Do not let the appearance be a deciding factor. And don't hold on to the past. And don't be selfish. In terms of, don't be putting out that you're not willing to take in and accept the appearance. Instead, let go of something that might be a train of thought that's like, it's not pretty, I don't want it. No. Accept it for what it is. Let go of the ideal of what the book is saying that the guy is holding on to. Take it, rip it in 2, fling it, and then take the figure that's in front. Of course, this card is the Knave of Swords, but because since it looks a lot like hell, I'm rating it as if it's hell. Accept it for how it appears. Let go of anything that's saying, well, it's not pretty, it must not be good. No. Take it in, accept it as it is. Because that's real beauty. But that's something that might be a potential pitfall. Let's see, suggested way or suggested courses of action to have this be more apparent. 2, please. Number 1. Now, this is the Three of Swords, but this isn't a sad card. Suggested course of action number 1. Invite spiritual entities to assist in communicating with her. If you don't know the name, just ask the spiritual entities to assist you into helping find them and have them bring her to you. Or the other option. Go out there, get off your tushy, and go and find her by a body of water. Just make sure you don't lose your head. Make sure you're practical and realistic with it. Don't expect it to be plopped in your hand. Ask for the spirits to help you and go out there and find them. Because I can guarantee you, once you do that, that's when it'll become more apparent. And then look at that. There's the King of Swords to follow right behind it. Keep your head on. And get rid of this. And that one's the Ace of Swords. Get rid of the logical by saying, well, this is not what I was taught. It has to be pretty by this standard book. F the book. Because you're limiting to what can come towards you when you're allowing something outside of you to control what you expect. I'll just allow it to come towards you however it is, and then just accept it, because that's when you'll most likely get the best possible. And the seven of wands popped up. You're putting out there pure light, and then the pure light that's like right there comes back. It mirrors it out. And you gotta leave those negative thoughts behind in the end. Because right there, you see that there's the figure in the distance going away. That's the old you. There's the person right there. Then you. But nonetheless, at least that's what I got, Michael. I've been on for 2 hours now. But anyway, I'm going to get off from here and I'm going to take a breather because I'm exhausted. And I have to... Actually, I'll wait until a week or two later to reveal what I've been working on. But other than that, I'm going to take my leave. So, bye guys. Poodaloo.